that the best way to think about this is actually not a great power conflict between the West and Russia, but as a process of decolonization that was delayed because of Russia's collapse. So at the end, when France loses World War II, it begins the process of decolonization. And it says we will never let Algeria go. The only problem is the Algerians want to go, right? And this produces a messy, very complicated decolonization. Eventually, they have to let it go. Britain does the same with Kenya. Because of Gandhi and Nehru, the Indian one worked out well, though God knows it could have been very, very messy in that scenario. But Kenya was extremely messy. People often forget Britain killed 1 million Kenyans in the decolonization of Kenya. Ukraine is in some sense Russia's Algeria, a country that for Putin is so closely identified with Russian identity, with the idea of Russian-speaking people, with Slavic unity, that he cannot conceive of a great Russia without Ukraine as part of it. Now you say this is irrational, we live in the modern world, but remember how the French thought about Algeria. Yeah. And remember that the majority of the French, even when de Gaulle stopped the Algerian war, were against him. It was only de Gaulle who could do it because he was so wildly popular. The vast majority of Frenchmen still wanted to hold on to Algeria. So I think there's something like that going on here. There is a kind of national greatness project where Ukraine is part of that. And the final point is, remember, Vladimir Putin wields power of a kind almost nobody does in the world. If Xi Jinping dies tomorrow, we know what will happen. There is an institutional structure that governs China. The Standing Committee of the Politburo will get together. They will vote. Somebody else will be appointed. That person will become president of China. If the king of Saudi Arabia dies, we know what will happen. The crown prince will become the monarch. What happens if Vladimir Putin dies in Russia? Nobody knows. It is, as the Russians describe it, a vertical of power. There's one man running, the country with the largest number of nuclear weapons in the world. It's all dependent on this one man, and he's been in that position for 22 years. Yeah. My point is, if Lord Acton was right and power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, we have the case here. Putin has wielded power for a longer time than anyone on the world stage today. He has wielded absolute power. Who knows what, you live in a world of courtiers for 22 years. You have only people telling you how great you are. You have people telling you that the Ukrainians are really Russians, that they will greet you with roses. Maybe he's gone power mad. I put that as the third possibility because I am always wary to personalize these things too much. But, it does seem to be a very personal, emotional decision for Putin. And I suspect that he made it very much himself.
It could be a combination of 2 and 3.
Exactly.
2 is where he's thinking emotionally rather than rationally. And 3, he's not in a position to be very rational anyway.
Exactly.
ABP Majha, उघडा डोळे, बघा नीट.